am Jim Eskin. It is my pleasure to welcome you to Fundraising, Friendship, and Fun. And this is a special National Philanthropy Week. So we are, and there's Father Molina, one of my good friends from President of the Mexican American Catholic College. Welcome, Father Juan.
Hello there. Thank
Um,
you.
this is National Philanthropy Week, and we're going to salute some heroes in our philanthropic world. I am so pleased with the special guests that we have. And I notice everyone has got book clubs. You notice that?
Mhm.
It started with Oprah, and then Jenna Bush Hager started a book club, and Reese Witherspoon started a book club. And now the beautiful British song singer, Dua Lipa or something, she started a book club.
Mhm.
And my wife, she has 1,800 books in our shared Kindle. She's about 1,700 ahead of me of them. But anyways, I'm reading right now Chris Matthews' book on body candidate, and there's a line that comes to mind. It closes the first chapter. It says, America is at its best when people try to be good. And that's what I love about people in philanthropy. You don't try to be good. That's what you are. You're doing good stuff every day. Let me start with I believe, the youngest member of our star-studded panel, Leah Hunt. And I'm sorry, and there's Jay Lucas from the great Granite State of New Hampshire. Jay, welcome.
Thank
And
you.
Leah is a cancer survivor. I think you were diagnosed with a rare eye cancer, I don't know, H2. She had 26 surgeries. She has been through the ringer, and she lost the use of her left eye. And rather than throwing a pity party, she has devoted her life to helping young cancer patients. She started this foundation, which has gone national when she was 18 years old, and it's really, really taking off. So Leah, first of all, she's at DFW Airport, and I spoke to her pilot, and he's delaying the flight for 15 minutes so she can start us off. But Leah, first of all, thank you for the inspiration that you are. Okay.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Hi, everybody. It's so great to see some familiar faces that I've met before on here, but also some new faces again this time. Jim, what a welcome. Thank you. Yes, I do
Hey,
apologize.
wait,
I
why
am
don't you
at the
tell
airport.
us, first of all, tell us about some of your proudest achievements of the past year and maybe talk about plans for 2026 because we're almost there.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah, so let's see. I will say 2025 was a huge year for the foundation and for myself. First off, I got married like 2 months ago. So that kind of I think
Wow.
like caps everything. But we actually
She's
had
still in the honeymoon phase,
I still
Mitzi. She's
am.
still in the
I know.
honeymoon phase.
Jim tried to tell me that the honeymoon phase will come to an end, but I'm determined to make it last forever. I'm 50 days in, so we'll see how I do. Um, but yeah, that was a big life milestone. But I will say we really took off with like
Hey,
speaking
Leah,
engagements.
tell him to put down the toilet seat, okay?
Oh, okay. I will. That's a good one. I will make sure I bring that up to him. But yeah, but in the sense of Leah's kids, we hit a big milestone because we did our first ever gala, which was a royal ball, and we had over like 400 people, and we surpassed our fundraising goal, which was huge for us. I obviously started the foundation at 17, so I never was really at the capacity to take on a full blown gala. I was like, I never want to do one of those. And then this year we did a gala and a wedding 2 weeks apart from each other.
Mm.
So that was, I would say, a really big highlight. We really got serious. I work with the Moonshot Initiative for cancer research up at the White House. And so we go to DC frequently. And so one of our new initiatives that we really spearheaded this year was getting our literacy, our education pieces into the hands of the White House staffers, but then also Melania Trump and JD Vance's wife both have initiatives for children. And so right now we're working with them for taking our children's books. So when they go to hospitals and they meet with families that they will have some of our resources. So that would say that would be a huge one. And then we also did a huge milestone was our mental health retreats. And so we do now those in all different states all over the US. And those are for teen girls going through cancer. And we work with them from things taking off your wig in front of your dad to how to work with through anxiety from, you know, telling a boy you like that you have cancer. And so everything in between. And then a ton of last wish parties and covering financial grants for families. So we had a very robust year, a lot of new milestones, a lot of personal milestones. So I would say in the world of Leah's kids, we had a great 2025 and we're excited for 2026.
Hey, remind us, and you've gone national, but what is the age group that you focus on?
Yeah, so we work primarily 0 to 26 years old. So for our under 18, we do family parties. So a day for the party families to go out together. Do you want to meet the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders? Do you want to go on a beach vacation? That kind of like that last wish, last memory. And then we also do financial grants. So we step in and we cover families' medical bills, rent, anything that, you know, you insurance isn't coming, everything that you may forget that they face. Like sometimes they need childcare. So we'll step in and we'll take care of all those necessities. And then for our 18 and above, we do the mental health retreats for our young girls. 2026, we just announced our mother-daughter retreat that we'll be doing. And then we do a lot of support group work for our teens and our young adults.
Wow.
Well, listen, Leah, you are an inspiration again. I don't want to put you on the spot, but how old are you?
I'm 26.
Oh my
Oh, you're
goodness.
an old lady, huh?
I am. I started this journey at 18 because, you know, you have to be 18 to have a nonprofit in your name. So I had to wait until my 18th birthday. And now we're coming up on, you know, a handful of years. And I feel like I've been working forever. But yeah, I feel like I've been doing this my whole life. You know, I was the kid that grew up in the hospital. So I've been working with, you know, American Cancer Society and ACCO and different hospitals. So you really, your life looks very different. I wasn't going to prom and going to school dances. I was going to chamber meetings and BNIs and, you know, meeting with the mayor and the governor of Texas and working with those people while trying to navigate college and high school and everything else. So it puts you on a little bit different of a life path, but definitely worth it.
Well, I hope, that Sean knows how lucky a man he is. And also, you know, as a spouse, he's going to have to share you with the world. I hope he obviously knows that already.
Yes, it is. He supports Leah's kids 110%. So he tries to come to every event that he can, and he flies with me to all my speaking events. So we're at the airport together right now, but he's over there walking.
Listen, you have a good flight, and we look forward to featuring on future programs. And again, thank you. You are an inspiration to us all. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. You guys are wonderful. Best of luck on the rest of the call. And I hope everyone has a great holiday season.
You as well.
Thank you.
And let's stop around. I haven't seen my good friend from long ago, but reconnected, Mitzi Purdue. And I was wondering where we were playing around with the we're playing around with the agenda, but I wonder, Mitzi, first of all, you know, you are the most prolific writer I know, okay? 28 books, whatever, 280 articles. I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you remember, sorry, you used to interview people and now you give. What was the first time you were published? Do you remember?
You have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Yeah, I remember it well. It was Cosmopolitan, and I think I was probably maybe 24, and I submitted an article on how to offer a gentleman a cigar, and this was. And
You said it was in Cosmopolitan magazine?
But I'm sure that was when I was when I wrote many decades ago. I'm much more now into writing about Ukraine. I'm officially a war correspondent. I write about the human side of the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, sure. Tell us, you've been, I forget how many times. You've been to the Ukraine about 8 times?
It's 5 times, and the last was about 6 weeks ago.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And she has started this innovative nonprofit, which I think has been trending and is changing lives literally in Ukraine, but its application can actually be global, and that's why it's called mentalhealth.global. Can you tell us a little about what you've learned now? How long have you been doing this? You're providing mental health aid to the people of Ukraine. What have we learned that, works, and what are opportunities for improvement through mental health via the internet?
Okay, allow me to start with room for improvement. In Ukraine right now, there are estimates that 95% of the population has issues like insomnia, depression, anxiety, panic attacks. And these are all things that, if you get mental health support, you're better off. However, in Ukraine, they have like one mental health professional per 100,000. In the US, it's like one per 500. So getting support, if you've got any of a whole variety of mental health issues that come from just prolonged terrible stress, and you're not getting any help. So since my specialty is interviewing war crimes victims, I got just so aware of the mental health aspects of this. And since I also was aware that there's almost no mental health support, not because I don't care, but because there just aren't enough of them and there's a war going on, I have a little bit of a background in computer science, and I started wondering, might something like a ChatGPT kind of large language module, if it were trained only on Ukrainian materials by materials that Ukrainian professionals endorse, could it help? And we've been piloting it for a year, and I hope improving it vastly as we've gone along. One thing is, I'm told that there's a waiting list of 37,000, and we haven't publicized it at all. And the people who are helped by it, I don't think we're going to cure anybody, but we can make the burden easier to bear. Oh, and then something I'm really proud of.
This hits me as an obvious question, but what's the technology infrastructure like? This only can work as good as the internet and the video conferencing. What's the capacity that they have? So your experts are primarily doctors in New York City, I think.
Okay.
What type of technology infrastructure do they have in Ukraine?
Okay, the beauty is that in Ukraine, more people access the internet through their smartphone than in almost any other country.
Right.
Wow.
And the internet is free, courtesy of Elon Musk. So you access this, I'm pretending that this is my smartphone. You access it through the internet, and there's military grade privacy, and you can ask, you just ask for help, and the way you get answers is there's not a human being unless, if we have all sorts of guardrails, and if it looks as if somebody's, for example, suicidal or likely to harm somebody, we'll get red flags and they're going to talk with a human. But otherwise, you can access it at 2 or 3 in the morning when you're having anxiety, or it's available free 24/7.
Wow. And that's leads into my next question. What's a typical calendar like? How often might a patient meet with a mental health provider, healthcare provider?
Well, they can't because there aren't enough of them. This is, this is second best. I mean, would much rather that they got to meet with a mental health provider. But if you've got one mental health provider per 100,000, their odds of getting help are close to zero. But in this case, it's available at every moment. And so if you're feeling down, if you're feeling anxious, if you feel a panic attack coming on, you just go to your smartphone, and a very friendly person, not a person, an artificial intelligence bot is going to give you advice that's very supportive. And tell me if this isn't amazing. There are a great many people who say that they would rather confess their issues to a chatbot into a
Yeah.
real human being. And I think that's particularly true in Ukraine because there's a lot of stigma attached to going to a mental health professional. It's a cultural thing. So my view is Mental Health Global is providing support that people can't get anyplace else, and it's free, and it's available all the time.
That's a
You
good
know, the
cause.
biggest backer of it, General Petraeus.
You know how I love celebrities. By any chance, have you met President Zelensky?
No.
Not yet, right? Not yet.
Well, I had something close to it, but I had to leave before it could happen. I'm still hoping.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I hope you'll continue with the rest of the conversation here. Let's jump around to some of our heroes, and then we're going to get into some of our discussion topics. And welcome Randall Luna. Who else do we have? Jay and George Block, and Marjorie Hope, who is the founder of America Connected, who is the best-selling author of Connect Diplomacy, who is the best-selling creator of a trivia game, and who is a visionary leader in promoting global person-to-person global diplomacy. Could you give us an update on, what you're most proud of in 2025 and what's in store for America Connected in 2026?
Thank you, Jim. Couple things. So we are currently on 12 platforms, reaching 145,000 people every single morning.
You got a bigger audience than I do. I'm a little jealous.
It's exciting because there's so much going on, but the biggest thing we're doing now is the big event coming up in Washington, D.C., which I'll be announcing in the next day or two exactly when and where. But if you believe in connecting our world, in educating the next generation, building bridges instead of walls, this is what we're doing, Runway of the World. And as a nonprofit, if you go on to actually americaconnected.org, which is the website, it'll tell you all about Runway of the World. You can actually see the actual event. We had it done by AI, but it shows you exactly what we're going to be doing. And if you're welcome to contribute anything you want, we take anything because we are strengthening the world through the programs we offer, the students we empower, global connections that we create. It's exciting, and it's going to be an event that is for the people, and that's what it's all about, is the people of the world. And we are all connected, and we need to make sure that we connect with each other every single day. And that's what we're about.
We're going to bring you in more of the roundtable, but I think I'd like to start with the stories. Diana Hoyt is a fundraising colleague, and there are a lot of us. Every day I read about another consultant, Marv, and Marv Roy is one of my dearest colleagues in Clifton Park, New York. But Diana started 2 companies, she wrote 2 books, and now she's a stand-up comedian. I want to talk. Can you talk? You're the only fundraiser. I'm known for bad humor. Tell us, what's it like to be a stand-up comedian?
This is a late in life endeavor, and I did it because as I was a consultant doing workshops and training and things, people kept telling me I was funny. Well, I wasn't funny on purpose, but I think that humor, when you're teaching fundraising, helps. You're talking about donor data analytics, then people kind of roll their eyes anyway, right? Because it's data and it's analytics. And so I think if you can bring some fun to that and how you reach people and talk to people, I think it can make a difference in your fundraising. So because I was told I was funny, which I didn't really think I was, I decided to go to comedy school. So there is really such a thing as comedy school. They're all over the country. In fact, right now I decided to go back after 2 years of doing comedy and producing my own comedy show. And so I'm in a master class for comedians with a comedian out of Los Angeles. And I just think it's something that we need to think about is bringing humor and that fun side to all the work that we do. And so that's why I'm doing it.
Megan Zenzen, who's in Lisbon, she also was a stand-up comedian. Megan, not to put you on the spot, you wouldn't happen the cell phone number for Lauren Michaels?
Unfortunately, I don't think he makes
I
that
want
public.
to arrange it to have Diana be you the opening monologue for SNL.
But yeah, you could just host. Yeah, let's see what we can do. We'll see. I'll call my people.
Let me ask. Let's stay. Let's talk about humor because all of you kind of have seen the world. We still have to hear some personal stories. Let's stay with Megan since you have lived in a lot of different countries. Since you were a comedian, how would you say humor is different in Portugal than it is in the United States?
Ah, I think in America, I think I think we're a lot more I don't know what the word, maybe raw. Like we're not as polite. I feel like and I would say the Portuguese are actually quite funny. They have a pretty good sense of humor. Sorry, I'm walking down a very dark street right now. They're pretty funny, but I do think in America in general, like it's almost with our movies and our pop culture, like it's okay to kind of dive into more controversial areas and we'll laugh at that, especially women too. Like I feel like there's maybe it's a fairly liberal country, but I think
Yeah.
like American women are allowed to be a lot more brash with our humor than, I've talked about my brother's wife who's in Vienna. I think she's a bit appalled with by her husband's sisters. I think she thinks we're a bit insane. So
Hmm. Hmm. Hey, Mitzi, you've traveled around the world. What's your reflections on how humor is similar and different in different parts of the world?
Well, topic I love because Diana, I've also at this moment taken an improv class because I think humor is so important. Uh, okay, here's some opinions. I've traveled in China, and I'll tell you something that I did that I took to be funny. It was in a fairly remote place. It was in a Shaolin temple, and it was in a public square, and the monks were practicing judo. And I walked up to a group of like 40 of them who were doing their poses, and I just joined them. And I knew it would work. I don't know how I knew, but the audience was all clapping and applauding, and the master, was adjusting my arm, and it was just funny because they got into it. And however, I was thinking I was in Japan a little bit later, and I have a feeling that spontaneousness would not have gone over well in Japan. So I'm very aware that different countries have different hang loose levels.
I think too, I wanted to add on like with what you're saying, but also, I mean, you have to think about languages in general. Like I've realized this learning Portuguese, like there's an entire form of this that when you're speaking to people who are not familiar to you. So if I'm speaking to like a person that's older to me or like, a waitress at the restaurant, I'm going to use different forms of those words. Whereas like in English, we just let it rip, like there's so much formality. And I'm sure it's different between the Asian countries as well, like different ways that you're going to address people and culturally what that means. And I have to think maybe that influences how quickly like humor is accepted or thought of as something strange, depending upon when it's integrated,
Hey, Martha Roy, who's got a lot of frequent flyer points, but also his son has just begun tenure as a professor in Prague. What's your reflections? You just came back from Prague. What's your reflections on humor there compared to here?
I think that Megan makes a really good point. You know, as we move from country to country, it's funny. Only a week before I was in Prague with my son to help get him settled there, I had been on a 3-week adventure along the Mediterranean from Monte Carlo to Lisbon. So Megan, I love that place you're calling home right now. Yeah, it's great, and I'm trying as an English primary English speaker to at least speak some of the language. So I, did my homework and boned up, and I totally forgot when I got to Lisbon that I didn't have to speak Spanish anymore, and I had not even thought about Portuguese. So, but I just immediately get into speaking Spanish, and they're kind of saying, no, 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 that's not where we're at. And I think language, it's probably better that Americans don't know a lot of languages because we wouldn't be sensitive to the differential definitions of some of those words in different cultures. Some of our physical communicating is different in other countries. If we do certain hand gestures to people, it will have entirely a different meaning than in the United States. So it's probably better that we just stay quiet as Americans. Or at
Marjorie,
least
you've
have
been
Mitzi
to
do her
11
thing with
different
her
countries.
judo. That kind of cool.
Hey, Marjorie, you've been to, is it 11 different countries? How many?
15.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't keep up with you. I've been to 15 counties. But anyways, what is your reflections on comparing and contrasting? And Melissa, we're going to go to you in a moment, but comparing and contrasting how humor is practiced around the world.
So I think in America, we tend to take ourselves much, much too seriously.
Really?
And I think,
That would be
and,
true.
and that's a problem because we go to other countries and they're having fun. They enjoy themselves. They go out like what Mitzi was explaining in the square and they're doing things. They're doing yoga, judo, dancing. They find things to do. If you go to Italy in the squares, the same thing. And we don't have any of that in America. So we tend to just go back inside our doors and we don't come out. We do not socialize. We do not joke. We do not laugh. And that's sad. And we need to do more of that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to deviate a little. Melissa Hunt, welcome to the show. Melissa, I've known her family for a while, and they're really impressed me. But Melissa's focus and her passion is helping seniors. And I say, please, Andrea and I are getting there far too fast. But talk about how humor can help make seniors feel better.
Well, I tend to agree that we are far too serious. We work extensively with hospice and people who are at end of life, and
Oh
people
boy.
tend to have
Can you joke
a,
with someone at the when they can you how can you joke with someone at the end of their life?
oh my gosh, it helps so much. I mean,
Really?
my come from is always we are when we're at end of life, the key phrase there is life. We're still living. And if we're going to design our life the way we want it, even to the very last breath, how do you want to spend your last minutes? Do you want them to be in pain and agony in a facility, or do you want them to be surrounded by family? Do you want them to be connected with love? Do you want to laugh? And, if you just think about what you want to create for yourself, chances are good you're going to find other people who want very similar things. And so, like we do, my philosophy is bring joy every day. It is somebody's last day on this planet, and it should be a good one. So today should be a great day. We dance and we sing and we wobble and we tell jokes and we eat good food and we create the kinds of best days ever in our home every day. And it really does have an impact on the way that people experience not only life, but transitioning and death. And we're rewriting the stories that our culture has told itself around how death has to be traumatic. It doesn't. It can be a completely celebratory, still sad, absolutely, because we're created to miss people when they're not here any longer. But there is no reason why we cannot bring joy every day, even on our hardest days. I think it's most important on our hardest days to have joy and to have humor and laughter. And creating a space where we give people permission to laugh and cry at the same time is something that gives them the experience of a really robust grief. And that's a healthy grief. So
What do
yeah.
I find this
Well said.
helpful, not only for ourselves, but as we age, our friends and our loved ones, sometimes you feel, where are the boundaries you can talk. I always felt when I was having trouble, I didn't want to talk about my trouble, whether it was health, whether it was going through a divorce, whether it was losing a job. I wanted to talk about something else, And there's a tendency, people asking, how's it going? I tell you the truth, it sucks, but I rather get into humor.
Yeah.
Let me move around. Norma Remick is an advice columnist. Norma, how do you know, how quickly when you meet someone, how quickly you can use humor?
It takes a while. There's no black and white formula for that. It just depends on the situation. Some people just don't show a sense of humor ever. And
They're called
others,
in-laws.
others take life a little lighter. It depends on how serious the person is, how well I know them. Some people immediately that they can take a joke and others cannot. Or you can laugh about something. You really should laugh about it, because if you can't change it, what else are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Let's move around a little. We're going to go back to a story. Sometimes we feel that there are so many problems, we don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And I love one of our initiatives. Is it the Sunshine Initiative, started by Jay Lucas? And he's from one of my favorite places, the Granite State. Whereabout do you live in New Hampshire?
Yeah, well, thanks so much, Jim. Well, first of all, before I answer the question, I just got to say what a terrific call this is. I just love this conversation,
Yeah.
and learning so much. But yeah, I live in New Hampshire, currently in Portsmouth, but I grew up in a small town called Newport, which is on the
Yeah.
western part of the state, a beautiful little town of about 6,000 people. And I remember growing up, basically my story is that I remember it as kind of this idyllic place where we had what I call a Norman Rockwell kind of main street, where you've got a drugstore and a hardware store and just a beautiful place. You can and the people in the shops know you. Even you could be 8 years old. They know you, you know them, they know your family. But that's where I grew up. And it was a wonderful time. But my story is that when I left for college, the textile
Where did you
mill.
go to college?
I went to Yale. So down in Connecticut.
Okay. I can't top that one.
Well,
Yes,
well,
he
I
went
tell
to
you,
Harvard, but
there you go. Well, as I did that, at the same time, the textile mill in town that employed lots of people closed down. And when it did, a lot of people lost their jobs, the economy went down, and another mill closed. And so when that happens, not only does the economy go down, but the human spirit, and all sorts of bad things happen: opioids, substance abuse. As Mitzi was saying, I mean, I just think depression, mental issues, all of those things happen. And
Uh-oh.
about 7 years ago, my wife and I were driving through that same hometown, and it struck us that those beautiful shops on the main street were closed, and they were shut down, they were emptied, and you could just tell that the whole spirit of the town had gone away. So we just said, we're gonna change that. We're gonna revitalize my little hometown of Newport, New Hampshire. And we began not knowing how to do it at all, really, but just trying. And today, 7 years later, the marvelous thing is that we are back.
Mhm.
We call it the Sunshine Initiative. Now, in a small town of 6,000 people, we've got more than 150 new jobs in town. We've got a brand new community center, $10 million community center with 2 basketball courts and room for seniors. We've got an opera house on the main street. that
Wow.
have fallen into disrepair. You know, we got theater happening. And the very best part of the whole thing is that textile mill that was on the outskirts of town, on the edge of downtown, was this enormous 100,000 square foot, 4-story brick building. You can sort of picture it overlooking the river. It was vacant for 50 years. And just 4 months ago, we had a ribbon cutting ceremony where we announced there are now 70 beautiful apartments in that building and 70 families moving in.
Hey,
So
hey,
that's,
hey, Jay, let me ask you a very serious question. You mind?
please.
What teams do you root for, being a citizen of New Hampshire?
Well, we're Boston focused. So
Guess
we're
where
Red
I'm
Sox.
from?
Tell me.
Boston.
All
And
right.
which team is 8-2 right now?
Actually, 9-2, Jim.
That's right. Oh my God. That's right. Oh, hey, thank you. How did
yeah,
I?
yeah,
Hey,
there you
we
go.
beat Mars Jets. You know, that was the
Oh,
better
God.
part of
Everybody beats Mars Jets. Big deal.
There you go. There you go.
that. Okay.
Hey, that's right. So that's the New
Hey,
Hampshire focus.
let's move around. The first one I want to move this around is what do you do when you get ghosted? Does everyone say you try to email someone, you try to text them, you try to call them, you try to contact them in social media, and you can't get a response? What do you do? I'm going to bring in some new faces. Let me first bring in Dr. Leah Turner, who's the Vice President, Mission Capital. Dr. Turner, how are you?
Hi there, I'm so well. Sorry, I'm on the road, taking my daughter to volleyball practice, and then I have an event.
Okay, well, you're multitasking. What do you do when you get ghosted in the business, not socially, business wise, and you try everything and they won't respond? What do you do?
Yeah, it doesn't happen too often. Um, but I mean, just being consistent, I think is the biggest key. If we're talking in the lens of fundraising and development, you're always going to have that, right? Like it's that inevitable. You got ghosted, or they haven't replied in a while, or they're really short, or whatever it is. I think honestly, in terms of just a general relationship and connection, definitely be respectful of people's spaces. It depends on the volume of emails that you tend to send. I think everyone's different. Every professional is different in how much you contact individuals. But it's this roundabout way of saying if the opportunity that you're going to present to people isn't right for everyone, I think try again, and definitely make sure that you have a cadence that works for you and your organization. But I would also say that um, there's a risk there, right? The time and the effort that you spend on individuals who aren't not returning your phone call at all, or not returning any form of communication. There's a level of like, let's move on to the next individual. Like this opportunity is really good, whether you're in corporate social responsibility or just general fundraising, general development, whatever that is. Yes, patient, and because people are really busy. But if you've expelled the duration that you've set for yourself to reach out to these individuals and they have not reached back out to you, I think move on to the next individual. But that's kind of the way that I go about this.
George Block, let's bring you this in. You've done a lot of things. Your latest gig is you're owner of a fitness center. And he was a swim coach for more than a few years. How do you handle being ghosted?
I think in my mind, when I heard ghosted, is different than what you said, what your scenario was. So in my mind, being ghosted is when, if Lee and I are talking and she's made a commitment, then suddenly I don't hear from her, she goes dark. That's being ghosted. Or if somebody sets up an interview and sends me a resume and application and doesn't show up, I sort of think of that as being ghosted. But what you described was sort of that little kid phenomena of you knock on the door and nobody's home, or you wonder if you have the right address, or are you really there for the right event? And it's almost the same set of questions as those little kid questions. If you can't get into a person or to an organization. Is it the right place? Is it the right time? Is it the right person? And so either you find a different way in, a different person, a different organization, or you do what Leah said, move on. Not going to happen this time.
Let's bring Randa Luna, Randa, who is the millennial side of my brain. It's done a lot of this. What do you do when you get ghosted?
I align a lot with Dr. Turner there, actually. I stay consistent and stay on my message. And the tenacious fundraiser in me is like, until you give me a solid no, I'm not going to go away. But,
Hey, Marv, does it sound familiar?
but I have to also give people
Marv,
space.
and you've been in this business too. How do you handle being ghosted?
I would remind myself there's a fine line between being persistent and being a nudge. Listen to your gut and reflect on the nature of the relationship before you make a next step, and make sure that it's consistent with reality. We're in a game where, especially those of us in more major gifts fundraising, we don't need volume. We don't need quantity. We need quality.
Yeah.
Go with the folks who are talking with you and stay focused on them. You know, people are busy in a lot of ways, and respect that. And if it's meant to be, they'll come back.
You know, my advice is, and it's to ignore being ignored. Like if Marv doesn't, return my email, my phone call, my smoke signal, I don't get and saying, why the hell aren't you responding? You kind of just forget it, move on, give them a week. You never know why people don't respond. Diana Hoyt, you've been to the rodeo. How do you handle being ghosted?
I pretty much do what you said, Jim. If somebody doesn't get back to me, I know things happen. We all have lives. And so I'll wait a few days and then recontact that person. Or I know I was doing something once, and I was doing it by sending out emails, and somebody who was in the group I was contacting said I would be better off with that group of people sending a text message. I sent the text message and immediately got responses. So part of it is today, there are so many ways to communicate. You almost have to know how, you prefer a phone call, or do you prefer email, or do you prefer text? So being ignored may be simply, that's not how they communicate today. Because it took forever for me to start texting.
Yeah. Let's bring in a number cruncher. Julie Desai, how do you handle being ghosted?
I think I would go same as you, Jim. If they ignore you, just, ignore back. But I definitely would follow through with all the different forms of communication, like Diana just mentioned, because some people just get more comfortable with a certain way versus another way. They maybe not, nowadays there's so many different places where you have messaging. You may not check that email, or you may not check that app, so give people time to follow up as well.
Jay Lucas, you have the good common sense from the Granite State. How do you handle being ghosted?
It doesn't happen all that often, but when it does, I like the answers, Jim, that you answered, and that Marv kind of shared, that people are busy and they have many, many things going on. Like you said, it's both business but personal, and you never know if there's a health issue or travel, so you just don't take it personally, and you'd be very sensitive to that. And I think you said ignore being ignored. I think that was a great line, actually.
Hey, Jim.
Mitzi, did we get you weigh in? Do people actually ghost you?
Yes, certainly. I'm examining my conscience right now about when I did the ghosting. Yeah, but how about it's never intentional, but like you're traveling, or I have computer problems now and then. So I guess my advice would be very aware that people life happens and your computer goes down, or you're in Ukraine, or just things happen. So Although I'm guilty of ghosting, I don't think I do it intentionally.
Right.
Yeah, to me, the frustrating part is really know why they're not responding. You know, the paranoid, the Jewish mother in me tells me, oh, this is bad, but, life happens. There could be a million reasons why they're not responding. Megan, what's your experience on being ghosted?
Oh, I mean, it happens quite a lot as a journalist pitching outlets and probably people pitching me, especially with the electronic music magazine. I mean, here I've got my email open. I have 27,193 unread emails. So maybe I should be the one with the ghosting. I mean, it's crazy in certain industries, and I'm sure
Yeah.
it's like this for people at big nonprofits too. You're getting hit up so much that you kind of have to, I don't know, for me, I go to the people that I already have relationships with. And I think that's so critical to most areas of life, but especially
Yeah.
nonprofits. You're going to open the emails from the people that you already know. And I'm much less likely to get ghosted by people that I already have an existing relationship
Yeah.
with.
Yeah. Hey, Melissa, as someone who's a expert with seniors, but you deal with stressful situations. What's your advice on being ghosted?
Two things. Automation, first of all, can head off a lot of ghosting. So if I've already got something that is in the works, it saves me from getting emotionally involved, I think, when I have a little bit of a pulled back communication. And so I may or may not be aware. I certainly won't get my feelings hurt. And the second thing is that I type my mantra in the chat. The people who I'm effective with don't get to pay the price for the people that I'm not effective with.
Nice. Hey, let's break into our groups now. John Margent, our producer. For the next 3 minutes, everyone is going to be randomly assigned to a group, either 1, 2, or 3. And we're going to give you an assignment. You're going to get all the 3 minutes, and then we're going to share our findings. This is a nonprofit situation, but you could also put it into other disciplines. You're a fundraiser, okay? And you have a donor that can't stand your boss, who might be the president of the organization, the executive director, the foundation chair. This major donor can't stand them. However, that president or CEO or executive director, they want to be in the meeting with the donor. So, John, are we going to assign everybody to a group, either 1, 2, or 3, and then we're going to report our findings?
We'll do that right now.
Let's pick on Mitzi. Now, let's pick on Marjorie. What group number were you in?
I was in, I don't know what number were we in, Jay?
Number 2.
Number 2.
Okay, Marjorie, what did you talk about number 2? How do you handle this situation?
Well, I think what we decided was you have to be diplomatic and look at the end goal and maybe explain, for the benefit of where we need to be. Let's have the best person that has that relationship with that person.
Okay, that's a good quick. Let's see, who was in group number 3?
Nobody wants to admit it.
It's still me.
By the way, the numbers don't have anything to do. There's no, ranking to them.
Yeah.
Anybody in what group number were you in, Mitzi?
I was in the one that Marjorie was in, and she expressed our consensus.
Okay. Who was in group number 3?
Well, I guess I was, but
Okay, there you go, the comedian.
well, I don't see all of my group. Where'd they all go? Anyway, I think our main concern was the donor. That with the appropriate polite conversation. That I mean, Jerry Panis, who many of you probably knew or knew at least know the name, once said that the definition of fundraising is building relationships. And so I think that this speaks to that it really is all about the relationship. And if the ED and the donor don't get along, why push it to a point that it could be
Yeah.
negative for the organization.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not worth it.
Let's see, in group number one, Dr. Turner, you want to speak up for group number one?
Yeah, sure. I just mentioned it seems like a prideful transaction, right, by the CEO. Um, if there's a valuable, fruitful relationship that a funding officer has with a donor that supports an organization, I'm really curious as to why there's a super big push outside of like lack of mission or vision, which again, if it's a fruitful interaction. But I just said that I would share tips and tricks if it had to happen. Um, Definitely try to ease into the conversation with tips and tricks on how you built a relationship to a former point, how the funding officer built a relationship with the donor, and provide that to the CEO so that they could use those tips and tricks when they build that when they are entering the room with this donor.
Okay. Hey, Brian Burnham, can you come on the camera, please? And turn your sound on. Welcome, Brian. Brian, can you hear me? Well, I'm going to give him 30 seconds more. Brian, can you hear him?
You've just been ghosted.
John, can you unmute Brian, or does he have to do himself?
I asked him
Okay,
to.
let's go to Marjorie. Marjorie's saying, and Brian, try to come on camera and unmute yourself, because he's going to give a shout out to a restaurant owner who was giving out free meals in the Washington, D.C. area to unemployed federal workers during the shutdown. It was somebody who wanted to salute. But Marjorie, you have told me that email is dead. Is that right?
I think there are so many forms of communication that emails, just like phone calls, aren't the only way that we have to. I'll give you a perfect example. I needed to get in touch with someone for something, and I called them the other day. They didn't call me back. I called again, and then I realized, wait a second, I remember once before, they never respond to phone calls. So I have to text them. And I think you have to think, and maybe try all of them, and calling, texting, email, um instant messaging, whatever it is that you think might work. uh just try whatever you can. There's just so many ways that we're bombarded right now with messaging, that almost with emails is the problem. I know somebody said they had 27,000 emails not read. I have like 21,000 not read. It's just impossible. You cannot go through. I mean, I go through the important ones and open whatever needs to be open, but it's not that it's dead, Jim. It's that it's overwhelming and you don't have time to go through them all.
Okay,
I
I
think
want to
that's
get a
really what I would
millennial's
say.
perspective. Randa, you're going to have the last word. When is it more appropriate to text, and when is it more appropriate to email?
Oh, I I have both on my phone and I answer them all the time, but I will say if you're having trouble getting a hold of me, it's better to text me because the same, weren't you saying that, Marjorie? I mean, sometimes I get so, for example, I was out sick 2 days last week, and when I came in Monday, there were like 300 things I needed. I'm not kidding, on my list that I needed to catch up or respond to. So I didn't see some of the most important things for Monday until someone nudged me and texted me and said, "Hey, did you see my email?" And I'm like, "No." So for me, it's kind of, I pay a lot of attention to email because it's on my phone. It's too easily accessible, and I'm a little crazy about checking all the red dots off my phone. Like, nope, no notifications. I saw it. But that's where
I
I
want to
sit.
thank everybody. You lived up to the wisdom of, America is at its best when it tries to be good. Each of you, in a different way, is making this world better by touching, improving, and saving more lives. especially helping those who are struggling. We are going to post a very short summary on Facebook and LinkedIn. And then our producer, John Largent, who, by the way, is on his way to the Philippines. We really are in a global sandbox. But before he goes to the Philippines, he's going to send us a recording. And I'll have that out to you all tomorrow morning on social media. I want to thank all of you, not only for sharing your time tonight, but also for the amazing work you're doing to making this a better world, a brighter, a stronger, and more socially just future. Thank you so much for your service, leadership, and contributions.
Thank you, Jim.
Hi, everybody.
You as well, Jim.
Thank you.
Take care.
Hi, everyone.
Be well.